Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This is episode 115. I am back from Norway, back in the UK. Weather's not been great, but we'll come to that later. We've been away already for a weekend, so it's been really busy since I came back, and I'm a little bit exhausted, to be quite honest, but I'll share more about that later. I have finished something. I've cast on something new. I have made a little bit of progress on other stuff. I'm working on a secret project. I've got a magazine design to share. Lots of stuff happening. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through our website yarnaddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Subscribing, commenting, liking helps me a lot to get seen, and the channel is growing every day, and I'm really grateful to all of you who watch and subscribe and comment and share and like and all the rest of it, because it really helps me grow my channel, and I do really enjoy doing YouTube stuff. Just been planning some new videos this morning. I need to pre-record some videos for June because I'm going away again soon, so I made a list of the videos I need to pre-record before I go away. More about that later on, but let's start talking about what's been going on since I recorded last week. So when I recorded last week, I was in Norway. I can't remember what day I recorded last week, but it was a couple of days, I think, before I left. I actually left Norway on Wednesday, came home. So I was home last Thursday when the last week's podcast went live on YouTube. I came back on Wednesday. I was just getting on the train when there were very strong rumours going around on Twitter about the fact that we might be getting a general election in the UK, and I was frantically trying to find out what was going on, but the train Wi-Fi is rubbish and my mobile data nearly ran out. I actually ran out on the train. I had to use on my safety margin, and it was the last day of my like bill period. So I got a new allowance on Thursday, so I didn't want to buy any more mobile data. So I was frantically, I'm a bit of a politics geek, and I was frantically trying to work out what was happening. Were we having a general election or not? I don't know why I'm bothered about the general election, because I'm not a British citizen, so I don't get to vote, but I am very interested in it. And yeah, we are getting a general election. As somebody who grew up in a country where elections happen every 4 years and the government do not get to decide when to have an election, I still can't get my head around the fact that the government can decide to call an election. For those of you not in the UK or who didn't watch it, basically our Prime Minister decided to call an election last Thursday. It wasn't expected till the autumn, I don't think. Government are really behind in polls. They're not doing very well, so everyone was surprised that he called an election now, and he did it in front of Downing Street, which is the official prime ministerial residence, in the pouring rain with no cover. So he stood there in the rain getting completely drenched. Anyway, enough politics. We're not here to talk about politics. This is not a politics podcast. So I've got lots to share today, and I'm feeling slightly kind of scattered. Like, what shall I start with? So we'll start with the knitting, then we'll go on to the yarn purchases and magazine stuff. So there's been quite a lot happening. So let's start with the knitting first. So I was working on this crochet design in Norway, and I haven't touched it since I came home. When I came home, yarn had arrived for a magazine design. I had hoped the yarn would arrive before I left for Norway because I planned to take part of it with me, because it's a small project and part of it was very easy, so I thought that would be perfect travel knitting. I'm glad with the amount of luggage I brought home with me that, as in I just had a backpack coming back, and I really struggled to get all the essentials I had to bring home with me, which was just things like my charges, my leftover medication, my knitting, my crochet, my toolkit, laptop, tablets, all my tech stuff. Yeah, it's basically all I brought back, and I still really struggled to fit it in this backpack. So I was quite glad I didn't bring this project with me, because I would have had to bring it home with me. But anyway, the yarn got stuck in customs. It was sent from the US with FedEx, which is usually very, very quick, usually within like 4 or 5 days, I think, usually. Got stuck in customs for, I think, over 3 weeks. So while I was in Norway, I asked them if they could send out a new a replacement, because I said it has to be here when I come back, or I won't meet the deadline, because the deadline is later this week. So that arrived really quickly, and then the original parcel got released from customs. So they sent me 2 lots. I'm not going to show you what it is, but I'm going to keep the second lot and probably do a giveaway when the design comes out. It's only 2 skeins, so it's not a huge amount of yarn, but I think if I'm allowed to keep it, which I think I am, you see it costs more to ship it back probably than the wholesale cost of the yarn. I will probably do a giveaway when the design comes out, which will probably be early autumn, I think. So that's mostly been what I've been working on. I cast on Thursday, and the first half was really easy. It was perfect knitting in the car driving to Wales on Friday. So I was home all day Thursday, didn't do an awful lot apart from getting this project started. Really, really tired because Wednesday was a really long day. The worst bit of traveling from Norway is the bit from London Stansted to Cornwall. Because it usually involves a few hours waiting in London for my train, because I've got to allow enough of a buffer zone so that if my plane's delayed, I can still catch my train. But if I try and get an earlier train, I have to basically pay the difference between what I paid for my ticket and what the ticket costs on that day, which is usually quite a big difference. So I had a very relaxing time in London. I had thought about stopping off on Oxford Street because there was a couple of shops I fancied popping into, but I decided not to because it was raining. So I went straight to London Paddington, went to the pub there, which I've been to loads of times, and got something to eat, and sat there knitting, actually, knitting on my, what was I knitting? Oh yeah, my sock, my purple sock, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this guy sitting at a table kind of a couple meters away from me, youngish guy, I would say maybe around 30. It was on his phone most of the time, but I was sitting there and I was wearing contact lenses, but because the lighting in there is really bad, I put my reading glasses on, which meant I could see my knitting, but I couldn't see anywhere kind of further than this away from my hand. So I wasn't aware of the fact that he was watching me, and he said, "I'm so terribly sorry to interrupt you. I hope you don't think I'm being creepy or anything, but I'm just fascinated by your knitting." He said, "Are you knitting socks?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm knitting socks." And then we got into conversation. He was just fascinated by me knitting socks. So I did stop knitting the socks because I'd nearly finished and I wanted to check the length and things. And I was like, should I really blow his mind and pick up my crochet so he can see I can crochet as well? But I ended up just scrolling Twitter for a bit, because I was getting close to having to get on the train. So I just scrolled Twitter a bit and made sure I had podcasts downloaded and things like that. But I did, so getting back to crocheting, last week when I recorded, I had got to where that monkey marker is, and I've done all that since. I've done quite a lot of crochet on this project, and I'm just going to get out one of my clutch bags to see how much I've got left to go. So I'm making a clutch bag. So this is the Glamour clutch, which is taller than the colour clutch. So let's just see how it compares in height, because I haven't measured it or anything. Right, let's see. So it is nearly, I think it's nearly tall enough actually. So let's just see. So that's the bottom. Hang on, see if I can show this. So yeah, I think it is. It's not that easy to do this. Yeah, I think I'm not far off. I think once I finish this deadline project, I can probably finish this. It's probably about the right, yes, it's similar size to this. If I think take away the bottom to the color clutch, but I wanted a little bit taller, so I wanted more like the glamour clutch height, I think. So I got a little bit more to go. I said last week that I was probably going to leave most of the yarn I bought in Norway. So I bought, I'm knitting it in Sandnes Garn, which is a Norwegian yarn company, Mandarin Naturel, Mandarin Naturel in Norwegian, Mandarin Natural, 100% cotton, it's a DK yarn. So I got two 50-gram skeins of each of the three colours. And I don't know why, because the knitted clutches take 100 grams. The stranded colourwork one takes a little bit more. So I should have really thought that I would need like 150, maybe 200 grams. So really what I needed, it was two of the one I used for the base, because that will also be used for the bits of the top that goes over the metal frame, and then one each of the others. So that's what I brought home with me. I brought home the spare one of the blue, because that's the main colour and that's the one I've used the most of. And then I left these two colours in Norway. I tucked them into my mum's stash box, which she doesn't know about, but she probably won't notice it. If I have enough space next time I go to Norway, maybe I'll bring them home with me. If not, I'll just leave them there because I can't see myself using them for anything else. So that's back in the project bag. I hopefully will finish this deadline project. I started it on Thursday. I'll definitely finish it today because I've only got a tiny bit left to do. And then I have another deadline due later this week, which was a garment knitted by one of my sample knitters. She sent it back and I haven't looked at it yet. I just opened the parcel and I haven't looked at it yet. So this afternoon I need to get that out and work out what finishing I need to do and blocking and that kind of stuff, and then get that done this evening and tomorrow. I need to block it by tomorrow evening at the latest, so I really need to get that. I might do that this afternoon before I finish the other project I'm working on. I nearly said what it was then. Then I got another garment as well that one of my other sample knitters knitted that came back over the weekend over away, which I also need to finish, but the deadline for that is not for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to leave that to next week, I think, or at least till this weekend. So that's mainly what I've been knitting. So this weekend on Friday we went to Wales to see our daughters. They both live in Wales. They actually share a house together. We had tickets on Friday evening to see a play called Nye at the Wales Millennium Centre in Cardiff Bay. And Nye is about Nye Bevan, a Labour politician just after the war. Well, he was born before the war, but he's most famous, I think, for creating the National Health Service here in the UK, and the film and the plays about his life and his politics. And because we're quite a politics interested family, we found it quite really good. It was very good. Michael Sheen, I think it's Michael Sheen, played Nye Bevan, and he was brilliant, and he was really, really good. We had balcony seats again. We went to Wales, the Wales Millennium Centre, for a musical in April for my daughter's birthday. We saw Come From Away, and we had a balcony then as well. We were a little bit higher up this time and on the other side of the theatre. I would say the balcony views have slightly restricted view, but I think this time it was slightly more restricted than last time. So you had to kind of lean across the balcony for some of the scenes, depending on where on the stage they were. But the good thing about that is that you get individual proper chairs. So it gives you a little bit more space, and knitting is a lot easier. Anyway, I brought this secret project that I'm working on because the first half is just stocking stitch, so I was working on that. I started knitting. About 20 minutes into the play, I dropped the stitch. And because it's quite slippery on, it immediately unraveled, I think, by four or five rows. I tried to pick it up. At the cinema, I will normally hold it up against the screen, because if there's a light scene, you can usually, the light shining through your knitted fabric, I can usually see enough to pick it up, but I couldn't do that with the theatre. It was just too dark. And I tried to pick it up and I thought I'm just going to make more of a mess of it. So I put it down, waited for the interval, which was about an hour, I think, till the interval. So I waited for the interval and picked up the stitch and then knitted for the second half. I will do a little video for social media saying how much I knitted. I won't talk about it more now because I can't really share details of that project, but I was a little bit annoyed because it's a deadline project. I was like, I really want to get this first half done while I'm in Wales. I nearly didn't bring the yarn for the second half, and I'm glad I did because I got half of that finished as well. We'll come back to Wales in a minute, but before I will share what I was knitting coming back from Norway. So I have, well, first of all, my pink socks that I was working on before I went to Norway, I have not finished. I'm on the second one, about halfway through maybe. I haven't touched those at all, and I need to really try and finish them. But I did, coming back from Norway, I finished the second of my purple Allegria socks. This is the first one. Don't think you can see it, but it still has the markers. So I like to put the markers in. I put one in after the rib because it has a regular rib and then it has a garter rib. So I put one in after the rib. I'm just going to take it out so I don't forget. And then I put one in where the heel flap starts. So there's actually one at the back for the heel flap and then one at the front, which is on the same column as the one that was up here that I just took off. That means that I can count the rows to make sure I match the second sock. And then I also put one at the start of the toe. And then I count the rows between those markers, make a note of it on my phone. I have a Samsung, so I'm just taking these markers off. I have a Samsung Notes app on my phone, which I can also access on my tablet. And I basically put down all the information about all the socks I knit there, the yarn, the needles, who they're for, and how many rows I knit and how many stitches and all that kind of stuff. So that if I knit any socks in that same yarn in the future, I can just go and check it, which is quite useful. So Manus Allegria, which is really nice. The second pair of socks I've knitted with this yarn, and also the shawl I knitted in Norway is also in this yarn. I haven't blocked that shawl yet. I need to block it probably tonight, so it's dry for tomorrow for me to block this deadline coming tomorrow, and then write a pattern. I'd like to get the pattern off to my tech editor by the end of this week because I've got such a backlog of knitting patterns to write at the moment for self-published patterns, and I really want to just get it done. Okay, so the yarn is Manus Uruguay Allegria, as I said. It's colorway Bataclana. I think I have some of this in my online shop. I definitely have the Allegria, and I think I have some of this colorway. I love it. Beautiful colorway, and it is 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide. So I'm very happy with those. So they're done. They can go in my sock drawer in a minute. So that's the sock knitting I was doing. So when we went to Wales, I didn't have any socks on the needles. And I thought I'll just take this deadline project because I really need to focus on that. So I didn't take my crochet, didn't take anything else. I did think about putting a pair of plain socks in my bag just in case. But I thought, well, no, we probably won't have loads of time to knit. I will just take this project and that will be fine. So I took this deadline project. Weather forecast for Sunday wasn't great, so we decided we were going to go to the cinema because there is a cinema there where my daughters live. And I thought, oh, I'm going to need a cinema project. And I knew by this point that the project I was working on, by the time we got to the Sunday, I would be in a part that would be a bit more difficult and more difficult to knit at the cinema. So on Saturday, we decided, because the weather was gorgeous, we decided to go to the Mumbles in Swansea. I don't know if it's officially part of Swansea, but it's in Swansea Bay. If you drive through Swansea and keep going along the coast, you get to the Mumbles. It's a village, beautiful seaside village. I think I'm right in saying this, so there's a foot and cycle path all the way along Swansea Bay. Swansea Beach is really long, and I think all the way along the bay you can walk and cycle all the way to Mumbles Pier. So we got to the Mumbles. We found some bikes. They're the Santander bikes that they have in London. Swansea University has them, and there's a docking station for them at the campus, and then there's one at the Mumbles, and I think there might be one, my daughter said, at the other end of the Swansea Bay foot and cycle path as well. So my youngest daughter, who's actually a student at Swansea University, although she's about to finish in a few weeks, she is going to qualify as a doctor in a couple of weeks. So that's very exciting. Her and Simon and I rented bikes, and we cycled to Mumbles Pier, had a look around there, took some photos and video, and then we cycled back. I would say maybe like halfway into Swansea, and then we cycled back again to the docking station and left our bikes there. But because we were going to the cinema, I knew I would need to get some yarn. And when I was at Wonderwall, this lady came and bought some stuff for me and introduced herself as the owner of Swansea Bay Yarns. And I was like, oh, Swansea Bay Yarns, where's that? Is it in Swansea? She said, no, it's in the Mumbles. So I filed that in the back of my head. My daughters live nearby, so I might be popping in at some point. I wasn't expecting to visit this soon. So I thought, well, as we're going to the Mumbles, I can pop into Swansea Bay Yarns and get some sock yarns. So that's what I did. So I popped into Swansea Bay Yarns. I've got some video which I will show you now. So I bought some Rico neon socks. Don't know if you can see that. Don't know if you need to see that. So this is the same sock yarn that these socks are knitted in. For these socks, I got the yarn when I was in Norway in March, but it's exactly the same yarn, obviously a different color. So this is color 6, and it's a sort of violet. I would say it's a bit darker than what it's looking on my screen. The light's quite bright in here because it's really dull outside and wet. I turned the ceiling light on, and I got my ring light on because without the ceiling light the background was looking really dark and dingy. So I normally, if I knit just plain socks, I prefer the yarn to be a bit variegated. Normally if I do solid yarn, I will do some kind of stitch pattern like this lace pattern on here. This is my Roseland socks. Roseland? Yeah, I think it's Roseland socks. After we go to the cinema, I thought plain socks it is. They did have other sock yarn there as well, but I really fancied this colorway, so that's why I went for this. I also hadn't brought any needles with me, so I asked for 2.5mm long circular needles, 80 centimeter long, because that's what I like for Magic Loop. They didn't have that size. They had either 60 or 100 centimeter, neither of which I particularly enjoy knitting socks on. So I went for 2.75mm 80 centimeter long circulars. These are the Nipro Zing needles. I do have a pair of these downstairs, so but lesson is always tuck a sock project in the bag or another plain project in the bag. So I cast on Saturday evening and knitted the rib, did 25 rounds of rib, and then I knitted the cinema from here where that yellow marker is to where that yellow marker is. I didn't count till yesterday, and I had exactly 80 rounds. So I did 25 rounds for the rib, 80 rounds stocking stitch, which is normally about what I do for the leg. So I thought, right, that's fine. And then I started the heel flap yesterday. I didn't work on very much on my deadline project yesterday, so I did the heel flap. I didn't do a lot of knitting at all yesterday, really. I did the heel flap and the heel turn as the gusset on these socks. I knitted from there till about there with the heel flap and heel turn and everything else. So this is just going to be like an out and about project now. I would like to finish it before we go to Spain, but we'll see. I may take it with me to Spain and finish it in Spain. I haven't decided yet. So we're going to Spain in less than 2 weeks. So I may take this to Spain with me and finish it if I haven't finished it before. Depends on how far I get, because I need at least one full sock project in Spain, possibly two, because I do a lot of sock knitting on the beach, and if we're going out and about and stuff. So we are staying in Villajoyosa, which is about an hour on the tram north of Alicante, and about, I think I read some of this, 30 kilometers north of Alicante and about 13 kilometers south of Benidorm. But we will probably be mostly using the tram that runs from Alicante to Benidorm to get out and about and do sightseeing. So when we go on the tram, if for example we're going into Alicante, which I know we will do at least a couple of times, that's an hour each way on the tram, so lots of knitting time. So I need at least one full sock project. I was going to take two with me, but depending on how much more I get done on this one, I might take this and another one, but we'll see. I haven't decided yet. So that's going to be like an out and about project till we go on holiday, I think. The day before I went to Norway, some yarn arrived. So I'm doing this Spectrum Fibre Yarn Club, which is a monthly yarn club. I've gone for the DK version. My plan is to make a blanket. I haven't started yet because I wanted to see what the colours were like before I started. So I need to think about when we get back from Spain to actually start this. So I think, oh yeah, I've written on it January, February, March. As I was coming up to leaving for Norway, I left on the 10th. Yeah, 10th. The week before I left, the yarn hadn't arrived for the April colorway, and I think it arrived a couple of days before I went to Norway. So I went on a Friday, so I probably filmed the podcast on the Monday or the Tuesday. So I think it probably arrived the day after I filmed the podcast. So a couple of days before I went to Norway, so well into May. At least a week into May, which I must admit I'm not 100% impressed with, but I appreciate, you know, it's a one person dying business. She also has a young child, so she's probably got a lot of stuff going on, but I love the colorway though. This is probably my favorite of all the colorways, and that's what it looks like. This is just gorgeous. I absolutely love this. It goes quite nicely with that colorway actually. So my plan was to use these for a blanket. I may leave it another month or two and see what other colors come. So the theme is tropics, I think. Yeah, tropics. This one is called Parrotfish on the Reef. DK Super Merino. Love this colorway. So my plan was to do a blanket, but I don't know, maybe I'll use this for something else because I really, really like it. It's a monthly club. You can cancel at any time. I think I'll keep going for another month or two, see what the colorways are like, and then reconsider. If I haven't started anything, I might consider cancelling at that point, because I don't want to end up with loads of DK skeins that I'm not going to use. But I do really need to get started on this, make a decision and start when I come back from Spain. Having said that, if I do decide to do a blanket, I don't know if I want to work on a blanket in the summer months, so we'll see. So that's all the yarn purchases. I got one more thing to show you, and I also got some magazine designs to show you. So this actually arrived the day before I went to Norway. So I ordered some YarnAddict merino cotton, which I used for my clutch bags that I showed you earlier, and I wanted some more colorways because I didn't have a lot left. So I got some new colorways. So I got this navy blue. I only just unpacked it this morning actually. A teal blue, a light blue, and there's more. Another light blue. I love this. Is like a sort of lavender light blue. Pink and purple. These three colorways are my favorite, and the crochet bag I'm going to make it again if I'm happy with it in YarnAddict, because when I do shows, I only display stuff at shows that I have the yarn for. So I'd like to do it again if I'm happy with it in this yarn for Yarndale at the end of September. And then I can sell it as kits and stuff as well. But I've also seen, because crochet is big at the moment, and I've seen a bag, I think it was Marks and Spencer's, is a crochet tote bag, and I really, really like it. I don't like the colours, and I wouldn't buy a crochet bag from a high street chain, because if it is actually crochet, and I've seen a couple of things this week that are advertised as crochet but on crochet. One said crochet like, and when I zoomed in it was actually knitted. And then from the same retailer I saw another thing a couple of days later which said crochet, and it's not crochet, it's either some kind of embroidery or they've just cut the fabric to make it look like crochet, but it's not crochet. So but if it is actually crochet, crochet can only be done by hand. I think I read on Reddit that there are crochet machines that do exist, but they're not used commercially. So if for commercial reasons, crochet is always done by hand. So if a company is selling a crocheted item for tiny amounts of money, imagine how little the person who actually made that item by hand has been paid. Not a lot. So I refuse to buy any crochet items unless they're more expensive, and that would be prices that I couldn't afford. And I actually saw somebody watch a video this morning where somebody was talking about a designer handbag which was crocheted for, I think it was Prada or something, and I would hope that they would pay their crochets a decent amount of money, but I wouldn't count on it. So I've seen this bag. I would like to make one. I was thinking it'd be fun to make one before I go to Spain, and so I could use it in Spain. But then I was also thinking, will I actually use it that much in Spain? So maybe I won't, because by the time I'll be able to start it, I will only have like a week to get it finished. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. But I was thinking about using those 3 colorways because I really like those 3 colorways. So I am currently waiting for some more clutch frames. I've just ordered them today. My plan was to order them for before I went to Norway, or while I was in Norway, so they'd be here when I came back, but I forgot. So I have ordered them this morning, so they will hopefully be here before I go to Spain, but they may not be. Anyway, my online shop will be closed while I'm in Spain anyway. But on my website there are some kits. I put together some kits with yarn, beads, lining and the clutch frames. I also have some packs of just the clutch frame and lining, and you can also buy the yarn and the beads separately. So you can either choose one of the kits I've already made up, and there aren't a lot of them because I'm missing the clutch frames, or you can just buy the yarn and put together your own kit. So whether you want to get the clutch frame and the lining, or you just want to get the yarn pattern, you can get from Ravelry and Pay Here. So it's basically a make your own kit. The kits cost the same as if you make your own kits anyway, so you don't save anything by buying the kit. It's just I've made all the decisions for you. So if you do want to get if you do want to do the clutch bags, let me get them out again and show you. I'm missing one. I got one downstairs. So the color clutch, these 2, this one actually has beads. You don't really need beads. That one does not have beads. And then I've got the glamour clutch. I have a purple version as well with pink beads, which is downstairs. The frame's open so you can sit it. I've lined it with felt because it's a bit more has a bit more substance to it, and when you put a bit of yarn in it, if you use it as a project bag, it will sit and it'll stay open. Or you can use it as a clutch bag, put all your essentials in there. I've done that as well, and I really like it, and I am planning on making more. So I will put the link to the Yataghan merino cotton page on my website, so you can make your own kit, or you can choose one of the kits that's already there, and I'll also link to the patterns. And then hopefully when I get back from Spain, I will have some more clutch frames and I will put up some more ready-made kits, but you can also choose your own, and then you get exactly the color combinations with beads and everything that you want. I have a design in the Knitting magazine, issue 202. I thought I had the magazine here, but I don't. I'm not sure where it is. It must be downstairs somewhere. But I have a separate video on that, which goes live today, the day I'm filming this video, on Tuesday. So this will be out on Thursday. So there is a video on my website where I talk about issue 202 of the knitter, I talk about my design of that issue, and I also show you a bit more on what was in that magazine. There was an interview with me in that magazine as well, so I will make sure I link that at the end of this video and below. So if you haven't seen that, do go and watch it. It was out on Tuesday, and then today, the day this video goes live, not the day I'm filming it, the new issue of Knitting magazine is out. So that's the cover. So basically they put all the designs on the cover, which is interesting. So that is my that's my design there. This is kind of portable projects issue. Mine's actually a garment, but there's a lot of smaller projects in here. I will probably try and do a separate video for this next week. I didn't have time to film the sample before I sent it off. Knitting is usually fairly quick at sending samples back. So if the sample comes back this week, I will do a video which will be out next Tuesday. And then I'll also show you some of the other stuff that's in the magazine. Just trying to find pictures of my design. Let me just flick through quickly. Lots of small projects using various techniques, stranded color work, plain stocking stitch, mosaic knitting, lace, various things. Right, let me see where it is. So lots and lots of small projects. There we are. So that is my design, which is called Summer Nights Cover Up. There we go. It is a kind of loose fitting asymmetrical cardigan. It is knitted in 3 pieces, so it's knitted sideways. So the back is 1 piece and each front is 1 piece. I'll just see if I can find the... I wish I'd had time to film it before I sent it off, but I didn't. But hopefully it'll be back this week. But let me just see if I can show you. Just make sure I'm not showing you anything I shouldn't show you. So here, so if you can see here, you've got the stocking stitch on the back and then the lace on the front, and the shoulder seam kind of falls down the back a bit, so you end up with this kind of V-neck at the back. So this is the stocking stitch, and then the seam is kind of here, so it kind of falls down the back a bit and creates this kind of V-neck back shaping. And then the fronts are just kind of loose. Hang on, this. Let me see if I can show you this without showing off the pattern like that. So nice, easy, lightweight design, simple, very simple lace pattern. It's knitted in Stylecraft Naturals Bamboo and Cotton DK, which is a lovely yarn to knit with, lightweight for summer. And I chose 3 colors. You can do it in 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, more colors, whatever you want. So I think that is it. Hopefully if the sample comes back from Knitting magazine this week or early next week, I will record a video that'll be out. The Tuesday video for this week was the Knitter magazine issue 202, so I'll make sure I link to that below. And at the end of this video, I'll link to the Yataghan merino cotton page on my website if you fancy looking at the kits for the clutch bags. And you'll find all my social media links and how to sign up for my newsletter and all that kind of stuff below this video. I did actually have an offer on my online courses while I was in Norway, finished yesterday, and I think I forgot to mention it in the podcast both last week and the week before. So do make sure you sign up for my newsletter, because I don't always remember to mention everything in the podcast. So if you sign up for my newsletter, you won't miss any special offers. I'll be back next week with more knitting and a Tuesday video, which I think I know what's going to be, but it might change. If you have any video requests, do leave them below this video. I quite often take requests from there and turn them into videos, so do let me know if there's anything particular you want me to cover. Video is getting quite long, so I really appreciate you being patient and watching. I'm going to leave you with a clip that I filmed when I was flying back from Norway last week. I was lucky that I got 3 seats to myself. There was a guy sitting in the window seat and then me in the L seat. And they asked me if he could move 1 row back to the emergency exit row seat. Emergency exit row? Yeah, emergency exit row seat, because there was nobody sitting there and they need somebody to sit there. So he moved, so I got 3 seats myself. So I scooted over. I couldn't scoot. I wasn't quick enough and moved over to the window for takeoff. But once we're in the air, I scooted over and I managed to do a bit of filming while we still live in Norway. I filmed it in portrait mode, so it's not landscape, I'm afraid. But you can see the Norwegian mountains, you can see snow on the mountains. If you're watching on your phone, you might struggle to see it, but if you're watching on a bigger device, hopefully you'll see it. But I could see snow on the Norwegian mountains, and it was light white fluffy cloud and lots of blue sky. Then there's a little bit when we're in the air above the cloud line. Light cloud is all nice and light, pale white, fluffy, and then as we come in over the UK, the cloud went very, very dark grey, and it was raining when we were landing. So you can see the changing weather from Norway to the UK, to the southeast of England. We had great weather this weekend. Today's really miserable and wet again, so not the 20 plus degrees, the 25 degrees and wall-to-wall sunshine I had in Norway, but I'm off to Spain soon, so I don't really mind too much. Anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and I will leave you with this clip that I filmed on the plane. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.